Hi, this is Mark Meyer from Martech Hero. As you know, we talk a lot about marketing automation on these videos. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use the Sendgrid API with Zapier to send out an HTML email with field merges that we will dynamically pull into the email. Sendgrid, as you probably know, is a cloud-based service that simplifies the process of sending transactional marketing emails. It is commonly used for transactional emails such as receipts, password resets, order confirmations, and emails such as those. As many of you that use Zapier know, it's pretty easy to insert data from a Zapier step by just simply selecting what Zapier calls the pill in the Insert Data menu. So on this example, this right here where it says email mark@martechhero.com, that's what's referred to as the pill. And you simply go up to your HTML and scroll through it and then find all the spots that you want this dynamic data added, and you put your cursor there within the HTML, then you come back down and select the pill and it'll dynamically add the data there. Oftentimes though, like in an example I'm going to show you, it might be much easier to hard code these data field merges into the HTML instead of using the Sendgrid pill selection tool, so you don't have to scroll through all the HTML code and trying to find all the places to add this dynamic data. So I'll show you a little hack on how to do this. Okay, now I jumped over to the Zapier website just to start creating this Zap. So on the Zapier website, I'm logged in. I'm going to just simply click Create Zap. And first off, we're just going to title this Zap. So up here in the upper left, we'll just call it Sendgrid API email. So the first thing we have to do is we have to decide which trigger we want that starts this whole event or starts the Zap. I mean, you could do numerous different things to trigger the event. I mean, there's 5,800 apps here. So, I mean, the sky's the limit on what you want it to be triggered on. For the sake of demonstration purposes, just for the ease of showing this, I'm just going to select Google Sheets. So we're going to trigger the Zap when a new row is added to a Google Sheet. So I'm going to jump over to a Google Sheet that I already created. And as you can see, it's very basic. It's just called Sheets to Zapier. And there's just one column with the heading of email and then just the email address. So every time a new email address is added to this spreadsheet, I want the Zap to be triggered and send that person an email. So let's go back to the Zap. So we selected Google Sheets, and the event, we're going to say a new spreadsheet row, which is right here. And then continue. I already have the Google Sheet credentials set up in Zapier. If you didn't have this set up, you just walk through the workflow and link your Google Drive account to Zapier. But it's already set up, so I'm going to continue. It's asking what spreadsheet do we want? And remember, it's called Sheets to Zapier. So I'm going to go in here, and it's the first one here, Sheets to Zapier. Then it asks me what's the worksheet. This particular spreadsheet only has one sheet, sheet 1, so I'm going to select that. And then we're going to continue. And then it says, do we want to test this? So we're going to test it. All it's going to do is it's going to go out to the spreadsheet and it's going to pull a sample data row. So we'll hit test trigger. And as you can see, it went out and it found this mark@martechhero.com, and it's just saying it's in column A. So this all looks good. So we're going to continue. And now our trigger is set up. So now we want the action to be, we want an email to be sent out by using the Sendgrid API. So we're going to select Sendgrid under the action. And we're going to choose an event, and it's just send email. Continue. And like I had the Google Sheet already set up, I also already have the Sendgrid account set up. But I'm just going to show you, if you don't have this set up, let me just show you kind of what it asks you for. So I'm going to hit these little buttons here, this menu, and I'm going to just say reconnect. and it's loading the Zapier login screen. That's going to try to authenticate us. And basically, all it's asking us is for an API key. So I'm going to jump over to my Sendgrid account. So on this Sendgrid page, there's a menu listing over here in the left nav. It says settings. And underneath settings, there's something that says API keys. I'm going to select that. And as you can see, I already have a couple of them, one of them that I'm using in this test. But let's just go through the example of how to create a new API key. So I'm going to hit create API key. And then we just give it a name. I'll just say API demo Zapier. And we're going to give this API full access. That's fine. And we're going to create and view. And here it is. And all we have to do is click on it and it'll be copied. And then we're done. And then if I bounce back over to Sendgrid and I go back to this reconnect window that closed on me here, I'm going to paste that in and I'm going to say, yes, continue. And that worked. So it's now using that new API key that we just retrieved from Sendgrid. And that's all it is to link this account. So it's pretty easy. So I'm going to hit continue. So next it's going to start asking us about all the information regarding the email that we want to send. So I took the liberty, I went into a design editor, an email design editor called Stripo, which is a great tool, by the way. And I have another video out here on the Martech Hero YouTube channel that talks all about Stripo. But really, you could use any email editor you want. It doesn't really matter. But I have this fictitious company that I set up, Finance Treehouse. And this particular email, I kind of made it long. But this particular email, it lists the best free investing newsletters. And if the end user hits sign up, it'll automatically sign them up for that particular newsletter. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to jump back over to Sendgrid. And we're going to start filling this out. So the two, remember, this is what we want to be pulled from the sheets, the Google Sheets. Whenever a row is added, we want that person to be the recipient of the email. So I just simply select that pill, as they call it. And as you can see, it dynamically added that email address. The from address is just going to be info@financetreehouse.com. The from name, we'll just call it Finance Treehouse. For the subject, we'll say best investment newsletters. And then down here it says text or HTML. And right here it says you would need either the text version or the HTML version. For this example, we're just going to do the HTML version. So I'm going to hop back over to my design editor. And I already built this test, dummy company email. So I'm just going to export the HTML here so I can grab it. So I hit export up here. And then I'm going to select HTML and then show HTML. We're going to copy that. And depending on what email editor you use, this might be a little different, but same end result. You're basically just pulling down the HTML. So I'm going to jump back over to Sendgrid and I'm going to simply paste that HTML into this section. And there it is. So as you can see, there's a lot of HTML in this email, right? And the reason is because it's doing a lot of things. I'm going to jump back over to the editor. So there's a link for the image. And for each of these links, and also for the sign up link, same link, it has this link, and then at the end of this URL string, I want to dynamically add the email address field. And the reason I'm doing that is because in this particular example, to sign up for this email, it's going to call this website, and then at the end, it's going to look at whatever the email address is here and then automatically enroll them into that newsletter. So that's why I have to dynamically populate the HTML. So to do that, we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom here. Like I said, lots of HTML. And down here, you'll see the pills or the dynamic data we can add. So in this case, we just want to add this email address. So this is where it gets a little cumbersome because it's so much HTML email. If I scroll up, I'll just try to find a place here where there's a link. Right here's one. So I select my cursor right there. I want to dynamically add our email address right after this link, so it dynamically subscribes that person. So then when my cursor is there, I got to scroll all the way back down to the bottom. And then click this. And then as you can see, it added it. But because this is a pretty sophisticated email designer, you'll see that it has all this stuff for, like, if it's a Microsoft Office, then display it this way. If it's not, if it's a Gmail, display it this way. So then there's another link here. So I'd have to put my cursor there, go all the way back down, click email again, and just keep doing that for all those links. And if you recall, there's a lot of links in there. So this a little cumbersome to go ahead and find all of them, and it's easy to accidentally miss one. So there is an easier way to do this instead of keep selecting all of those pills on every location that we need to find it. It's easy to miss something, like I said. So it's a little bit of a Zapier hack, but I'm going to show you another way we could do this. And the way is basically what we're going to do is we're going to hard code these dynamic fields into our HTML editor, so we don't have to, on this page, come here and go down and select each of these individually and keep finding them all. So like I said, it's a little bit of a Zapier hack, but let me show you how you do it. We're going to scroll all the way back up to the top. And up here in the URL, you'll see it says zapier.com, and we're just in the editor. And this first number here is just the Zap ID. And then it says draft because we're just in draft. Don't worry about that. And the next number that's listed here, it's called the node ID. So that's important to us. We want this node ID. So each step in a Zap is a different node. So as you can see, I'm on the second step as it's highlighted here. So this is the node. If I select the first step, notice that the node changed by 1 digit here. So what we want to do, we want to pass that email address, but we want to pass it within the code of the HTML on our design page. So to do that, I'm on the first place, the first step where we actually pull in that email address. And I'm going to go back down to where it says test and see right here, here's the email address, and it has the name of call $A. Now you might be wondering, why does it say call $A? Why can't I just say email? Because that's the heading name. And the reason is because later if we come in and change this heading from email to email address, this won't break. It'll still work because it doesn't care what the name is. It's just pulling column A. So this call A and this node ID are the two things we need to know. So to construct this dynamically, I'm going to open a notepad. And what we do is we put curly bracket, and then the node, which is up here, I'll just copy it. So I copied the node, and then we're going to put underscore, and then it's what field down here we want passed. In this case, it's just this one right here. If you had a whole bunch of fields here, there'd be a column A, column B, column C, you know, so forth and so on. But in this case, we just want COL $A. And then we're going to close that with curly bracket, curly bracket. So that's it. So this right here is the exact same thing that behind the scenes when we inserted that pill and it just said, you know, email address, this behind the scenes, it's actually doing this. So what do we do with this? I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back to my HTML template, and where it says sign up, at the end of that link, I'm going to paste that curly bracket, node ID, underscore, underscore, and then the column name. And we're going to do that for every one of these. Just like this. So we're just going to keep selecting every link. And I'll continue this real fast, and then we'll jump back over here. Okay, I'm back, and I just added all of those. And now we're going to export this again. So I hit export. Let's do HTML, show HTML, and copy HTML. Then I'm going to jump back to Sendgrid. We're going to go back to where we pasted that HTML. Here it is. I'm going to actually delete everything that's there now because we don't need that. Okay, it's all deleted. And now I'm going to paste in that new HTML that hard coded in those field merge tags. And there it is. So if I scroll up now, let's just go up to the top here, you'll start to see everywhere, it's dynamically building this little pill now, because right there is where we entered that curly brackets, like little code. So now it knows, oh, he wants, you know, this particular email address. So you can see how many different spots we would have had to manually go in and paste that, which would have just been awful. So this is a much, much easier hack to handle that. So that all looks good. And then we're going to scroll down here, hit continue. And then we'll test this action. And I'll just jump over to my email. And as you can see, here's the test. So it all came through. And this might be hard to see, but if I hover over one of these links way down here on the bottom, it actually shows that it's adding the dynamic data from our email for each of these sign-up links. So that looks great. So everything works great here. So if we were happy with this, we just hit publish, and that's all there is to it. And then once you hit publish, every time a new row is added to the spreadsheet, a new email address, it will trigger our Zap, and it'll send that particular person the email that we just designed. So that's basically how you do it. I hope that all makes sense, but if you have any questions, please let me know and I'll be happy to help. But thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.